Happy Wednesday night and welcome to another look on the plus side. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys, as always, for being with us. We appreciate it. If you haven't already, and if you haven't heard me say it before, please subscribe to the Park Adventurers Club. We'd love to have you as one of our members. And also, don't forget to give this video a like, as it helps people to find us. Tonight, we are going to do our deep dive review of the very first Marvel movie. The MCU started with this one. It's Iron Man, and with me to talk about it is this fella, this Iron Man. It's the amazing Dave. What's going on, fella?
Hey, how's it going? I'm so excited about it. See, I wore my Iron Man shirt. Look at that. What did you?
Oh, look at that! Yeah, I've got Avengers Campus on. I actually have one that says "I love you 3000," but I thought it might give you the wrong idea.
Oh, that's a little disappointing. I would have, that would have been something nice to ponder.
I'm so sorry, my friend. So you know what? I believe that you asked for this review in particular, and we've done a lot of Marvel, from the TV shows to a couple of the movies. My favorite Marvel movie is Civil War. This is the one that started it all, and in all the time that Disney Plus has been on, we have never reviewed this one. So I'm pretty excited about it, and I was excited to go back and rewatch it. Tell me about, first, before I ask you that, I have a question that I haven't asked you before, I don't believe. When you log into your Disney Plus, who is your icon? Who is your representative of your personality?
Oh man.
What's your logo?
I think
you don't know.
Well, it was Mickey for a while, and then you guys talked about it on one of your shows, and I was like, man, I'm really lame because I've just got like the default icon on there. So I changed it to something, and I don't remember what it is.
Well, I changed it to Oswald the Lucky Rabbit when I saw that was there. So
that might be what I'm on, because I'm into Oswald for sure.
But I think you and I are both kind of like, the main one. So I think I started with Mickey as well. So I was curious to what people choose for theirs. I'm sure that a lot of our audience has Alice in Wonderland and maybe Goofy. I don't know. But let us know in the chat which ones you guys have. I see a lot of folks in the chat. Fire Chief Ronald, Jay Ware, thank you guys for hanging out and being with us tonight. We appreciate you. So then the next question is, the first time you saw Iron Man, I assume you saw it in the theaters. You're kind of, I think we've talked about this, you're a superhero guy. What did you think of it the first time you saw it?
I thought it was great. I was blown away. I think it was one of those movies that I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go back and see that again tomorrow or something like that. When I was, when I would do stuff like that, but I thought it was a great movie. It just had a heart and an energy you just hadn't really seen in a movie before. It really, now we kind of take it for granted, but man, it was something else at the time, at least in my opinion.
You know what? I feel like, and you could tell me if you think that this is not right, I feel like the X-Men movies redefined the superhero genre in the theaters, because it was they weren't sensational characters. They were just regular people, sort of. They kind of like toned it down. They weren't wearing the spandex. They were wearing like the leather outfits, and they felt like almost like this could happen. Like this was a more realistic take than the stuff I grew up with. I remember seeing like the Spider-Man and Captain America on TV, the 2-hour TV specials that were just the best at the time. And I look back on them now and I'm like, those are horrible. Like, just kind of looking at the 1994 Fantastic Four that we've all been looking at, the one that should have never seen the light of day. But I feel like the X-Men movies kind of reset all of that with like, okay, what if there's just a genetic mutation, and then what would that person be like, and how would their powers work, and what would their outfits look like? And so this movie feels very real-ish in the same way that maybe the Christopher Nolan Batman movie does. Like, oh, I can see that a guy with a lot of money could, and a vengeance, could buy up a bunch of tech and be this guy. The same thing goes with Iron Man, and I feel like that was one of the things that sort of made it cool. But again, I feel like that the X-Men movies kind of redefined this genre for us along the way.
It's a good point.
One of the things I like to do is take a look at the stats. Because I think we used to be, I would like rattle off a bunch of numbers, this, that, the other. So now we put them on this little stat board. And so the runtime for this movie is 2 hours and 6 minutes. And honestly, I think that that's actually very forgiving for a Marvel movie. I feel like most of the time they're pushing the 3-hour range. It opened, released in theaters May 2nd, 2008. We did a review of Tinkerbell last week, and that one was also 2008, which it's hard to believe these existed in the same plane. It's PG-13, box office $500 million, 585.8 million. I would have probably bet money that it was higher with all of the reputation it had. 140 million budget, which again, I don't know you can make a Marvel movie that cheap anymore. And even though the company was Marvel Studios, it was actually released by Paramount. And so this one was released by Paramount, and then the second movie was The Incredible Hulk, and that one was released by Universal, and then the third one was Iron Man 2, and then Thor, and that one was released by Paramount. And then Disney was like, no, wait a minute, this is crazy. We need to buy this company. Like, this is like, I feel like this movie was the one that lit the match for the entire thing and made them pay attention, made Disney pay attention to Marvel in general, because at this point they'd been selling off, or before this they'd been selling off the rights here and there. Sony got Spider-Man, 20th Century Fox got the X-Men and Fantastic Four, and so they were selling them all off all over the place. This was the first one that Marvel was like, you know what, no one knows our characters like we do. Let's Marvel Studios make this thing. How about all those bad Punisher movies that were out there? I mean... You know, I don't know. This one, is there a movie that stands out to you from like a Marvel character that you look at and you go, why did they make that? Other than the Fantastic Four one.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. Like before Iron Man, I can't say I was particularly into any of them. I kind of, vaguely remember Fantastic Four, but I mean, there was nothing that really excited me all that much. I mean, I liked the comics, but the movie wise, I just, there wasn't anything out there that got you too excited.
Yeah, that makes sense. So again, this one, like I said, came out in 2008. From a quality standpoint, this one, I think the question we ask a lot is, does this stand the test of time? I think top to bottom, and you can argue, get ready to argue with me on this one. I think top to bottom, this one is well written, well directed, well acted, and that the effects / story like still holds up.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. I want to argue with you as much as I can because it's fun, but I'm sorry. I don't have an argument against that. Like, I watched it with a very critical eye. I watched it a couple of nights ago, and you look at the special. I think what makes it work is, places where the CGI would have fallen short, it's practical effects. And Favreau was just so good at understanding where that line was. And also another thing, and you may be aware of this, but they actually had access to like the F-22s, the real ones, so they were able to go on set and get some of those actual planes in there. They didn't have to recreate them. So there's so much of it is practical. I think that helped them quite a bit. But it is like story-wise, like you said, I think the writing is fantastic. I mean, I just and Robert Downey Jr. does such a great job, and so much of that stuff was improvised by him. And, I think the script from what I read was very loose. They didn't have there was a lot of places for the cast to improvise. And I think that's what gives it, like you were talking about, how it felt very real. And I think that's one of those things that felt very real about it because it feels spontaneous.
We'll talk about the cast in a bit, but let's pause just to give props to Robert Downey Jr. This one, obviously, Robert Downey Jr., amazing actor, troubled human being, gets kind of redemption with this movie. Am I right in thinking Tom Cruise was originally asked to be in this movie as Tony Stark?
He was one of them. Yeah, he was interested. He was interested in producing it and starring in it, which would have been interesting. I think it probably would have had a very different movie had he produced it as well.
Oh, for sure. But again, Robert Downey Jr. I think had a lot to prove at this point in his career, and this movie I think just hit at the right time for him, and he was able to really showcase what he could do. A lot of that fast talking that he does, though, I feel like he has defined what Tony Stark is. I know you're wearing the T-shirt from the comic book, The Invincible Iron Man. Somebody actually said in the chat, "Oh, I forgot that was the title of it in the comic books." But the Amazing Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, and the Invincible Iron Man. But I think that now then you see Tony Stark in the cartoons. Or in probably back, it probably reflects back into the comic book. it's Robert Downey Jr. Like RDJ is like the blueprint now, and it's kind of in the same way that I feel like some of these other guys have become, you know, Chris Evans has kind of become Captain America. Like I can't hardly see him as Johnny Storm anymore, even if I go back, because he's Captain America. But Robert Downey Jr. again, the fast talking, wisecracking, the whole thing from the beginning when he's in that Humvee and he's talking, you can't keep up. It's just like boom, 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 and it's funny and it's fun. Other thoughts on him? Is there another Robert Downey Jr. movie that you like really love?
I mean, I like him in everything he's been in. He's a fantastic actor. The original actor, actually, I looked it up, was Clive Owen was offered the role, and he turned it down. Wouldn't that have been weird? Could you imagine Iron Man with, like, he's much more cerebral? I'm not sure. I can't imagine that working, which I guess is why he didn't get the role. Yeah, but and if we're talking about cast, I mean, I think that, you know, Favreau really went, you know, to bat for Robert Downey Jr. He was adamant after meeting with him that was the guy for the role. And really, if you think about his life, I mean, it very much mirrors Tony's. You know, it's like he kind of went through that redemption arc on his own, and I think that's what made him so good for the role. Because he truly is Iron Man. He's led almost a parallel life to what Iron Man was.
Which is why it deflated me during the Oppenheimer era, where he was, you know, so touted for his acting in that movie, that it really felt like he was kind of slapping Marvel in the face, like he was saying it was sort of a less than, and you know, it made it. And maybe I'm gaslighting this whole situation, but I feel like it was a thing where he was kind of bad mouthing Marvel the same way a lot of people were going, oh, those are bubblegum movies, they're not real cinema, blah blah blah. However, then he comes back into the MCU as Doctor Doom. And so it's like, I don't know why. Well, I know why. It would be money. I was going to say, I don't know why he would come back if he didn't enjoy being part of this. But these guys have been in these roles for so long. I remember seeing Jeremy Renner talking about how he had been at one point in an interview Hawkeye for 10 years. And I mean, this movie came out in 2008. So we're pushing 30 years on this movie. We passed the 25 mark. We're pushing 30 years on this movie. Crazy. Yeah. And so, like, I mean, not 25. 30 years is wrong. That would be 2038. I am way off. Yeah. So, I mean, we're pushing 20.
I'll be retired
20
by then.
Years. Pushing 20 years. Sorry. Yes, we're pushing 20 years. I caught my own math on that one. I was like, 30? That doesn't sound right. Yeah, they're pushing 20 years on this one. It will be 2028 when it's 20 years, just to be clear on that one. Don't want to make us any older than we are. But again, he's been in the MCU for all of this time. There was a brief amount of time there where he wasn't. After the Endgame, but that was only a couple movies, and we didn't, as a society, seem to love any of the content that they did after the fact, after Endgame was over, because it seemed like they started out with Iron Man, and then they're like, wait a minute, we can make a plan here, and then they start peppering in the whole Infinity Stone thing, and now we've got this saga that's all interconnected, and we need more, and we want more, and we get more, and then like it ends there, and it kind of came to a dead stop with that Spider-Man movie, and it's like, what do we do now? And they've tried to reboot. You know, that didn't work out very well with Kang, and now we're kind of going down the Doctor Doom path. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens next. But before we move on to cast, I do want to talk about directing, because I do think Jon Favreau, by the way, looking svelte in this movie, like looking back at him in this one, versus the character we see walking around Disneyland these days, filming.
When he got this gig, he celebrated by going on a diet and losing 70 pounds.
Well, he looked it. He looked it. Good looking fella in this one.
He looked good.
But as a director, I mean, thinking about things like Elf, I don't know. I really love like a Jon Favreau movie. I mean, not The Lion King, but most everything else he's done, I've enjoyed, and Mandalorian, et cetera, et cetera. But this one, again, he's just got such a good eye, and you can kind of see that passion that he has as a movie maker. But this scene in particular, so iconic. this, with Iron Man getting all of his accoutrements on, but it ends so grandly with the mask reveal. And so I'm trying not to let YouTube flag me for anything here, but I want to see that particular scene because it's just money. Like, he's got that look on his face where he wants retribution, and it closes, and then the eyes come on, and it's like, wow, yes, awesome. That's the moment. And you're hearing that music, that da-da-dun, tsh, da-da-dun, tsh. By the way, do you think that kids today think that the Iron Man song from Black Sabbath was written for this movie?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. No doubt. Yep.
Because I find myself anytime we're talking about this movie, like like in my head, I'm just hearing that, and they incorporate it in beautifully, and it's such a neat part of it. But the music afterwards, the theming, the score is kind of, I feel like, kind of inspired by it, but it's different enough that it kind of has its own vibe and its own thing. But nothing hits like that Avengers theme.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the music in this movie, though. I know we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah. So one other thing, just again from a visual standpoint, that I wanted to talk about, he does the superhero landing when he comes into the village where he's saving all the folks, and just the fight scene in general from this, where he does the superhero landing and then he starts spinning around and doing all the battling that, like, I don't know why Tony Stark would know how to do that at this point, but he seems to be really good at fighting. Have really good instincts too when it comes to, like, not firing at these people and then setting off the little missiles and things like that. And then there's that very Indiana Jones scene where he shoots the rocket at the tank and then walks away from it. It reminds me of the one where, like, the guy comes with a sword and Indy just, like, shoots him. It's felt a lot like that one. So there's a lot of comedy to this movie, I guess is what I'm saying too. It's like there's excitement, there's drama, there's comedy, there's just it's kind of got everything.
Yeah, without the humor, it wouldn't even. I don't think it would have been nearly as good without the humor. And I think that's a little bit of what Marvel lost when Robert Downey Jr. left, because he does bring, like, a wit to Tony that you just don't have anywhere else in the MCU, at least not right now.
Yeah. There's one other scene that I wanted to point out, again, from a directorial standpoint, to create the vibe, is this one where Pepper comes up at the end and she looks into the darkness, and then those eyes glow, and then he just rises up, and it's just like,
you know what that reminded me of?
So good. What?
If you remember Alien, the first Alien movie, there's a point where, can't remember the character's name, but he's walking around the ship, and there's a room he goes into, and there's all these chains hanging, and they're just sort of clinking and moving back and forth. And of course, he ends up getting killed. And it reminds me of that moment where he's kind of walking through those chains, and she's walking in the chains, and, like, he kind of lights up, and it's interesting. Yeah. So I don't know if it was intentional, but it did remind me of that a little bit.
Yeah. No, but again, those are scenes that stick with me years later, not 30 years later, but years later. When I'm watching it, I'm just like, I remember, and I have a feeling when I watch that I remember the feeling I had the first time I saw it. And that, to me, is not necessarily the actor. It's not the effects. I feel like, to me, that's the mark of the director, who said, this is what I want you to see when you see this movie. This is the pacing. This is the moment. This is the reveal. All of that stuff. And this movie breaks down really well into 3 acts as well. And again, I kind of credit that to Favreau. Fire Chief is in chat saying that Jon Favreau trained him. So that's how Iron Man knows how to fight. So that's how.
Okay.
Yeah. But honestly, I feel like, we let a lot of stuff go as far as, like, the reality of this is that he was this billionaire playboy. He had a horrible thing happen to him, and then he comes back, and not only has he changed his mindset, but now he's driven completely differently. He's locked into a different zone, and so, but we go with that. We go with it that was such a harrowing, horrible incident that he's a changed man forever. And like I said, we just kind of roll with that. Anything else on like the writing, directing, that kind of thing before we move on to cast?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I thought he did a fantastic job, and he's it's really the first of two franchises that he revived. I mean, I think when Star Wars was hurting, he brought back with the Star Wars with the Mandalorian and made him relevant again. And I think he did the same thing with Marvel. He really he did exactly the same thing. So he's brilliant at that.
Yeah. Again, Elf probably is still my favoriteest thing that he has ever directed, I think, and I love it that he's always in his movies, whether it's Swingers or whatever. But when he was in Elf and he's the doctor, and that whole scene where Buddy's eating the cotton balls, like, again, I just got to think that he probably works so well with his actors, whether it be Will Ferrell or Robert Downey Jr., and just they just really vibe and get that moment perfect, and it just feels really, really amazing to see the whole thing, honestly. So
yeah, if there's a director I want to hang out with, it's him.
Yeah. You know what? For years, for me, it was for years it was Joss Whedon, and then Joss got a little weird, and so. But I mean, like, because Buffy, like, I was there at the Buffy standpoint, and I just thought he was really. And then Dr. Horrible. Do you remember Dr. Horrible? That was a thing that he did. But yeah, looking at Favreau's kind of resume here, Elf was the big one, I feel like, and then Zathura was like the runner, the follow up to Jumanji. Then he did Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Cowboys and Aliens, and then Chef. What, Cowboys and Aliens?
I did. I don't know if I was in the minority there, but I liked it.
You're allowed. The Jungle Book. He did one episode of The Orville. He did The Lion King, and then The Mandalorian, of course. And now he's working on that Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. I know that there were a lot of fan pics taken at Disneyland where he's shooting the live action Oswald the Lucky Rabbit series for Disney Plus. So, yeah. Pretty amazing. Kudos to Jon Favreau. Well directed, sir. But let's talk about the actors. We talked about RDJ. Can I call him RDJ? Is that okay to do?
Yeah, you can. I feel like we're close enough.
Honestly, this movie made me like Gwyneth Paltrow again. Can I say that? Is that okay to say too? I think she does an amazing job as Pepper.
Yeah. I mean, again, no argument for me.
Leslie,
I don't like her very much.
As a person, or as an actress, or as Pepper?
As a person. As a person. Like, I think in the role, she's actually very good.
Yeah, agree. This was the introduction of Agent Coulson, Clark Gregg, and honestly, I think he does an amazing job, but at the same time, I assume that's just him. I haven't seen him do anything other than be that guy. But he does that great. And I think it was so much of a thing that that Agent Coulson then became the thread that tied these universes together. And I think that they did a good job there. Sean Taub plays Jensen in the prison, which I think he did an amazing job. Leslie Bibb is Christine Everhart. Terrence Howard. Poor guy. Like, I feel like he was a great Rhodey, and then they recast him. And not that I have anything against Don Cheadle, I just prefer Terrence Howard as Rhodey. And I don't love Terrence, like you were talking about Gwyneth Paltrow. I don't love Terrence Howard in everything he does. I wasn't, a big Empire fan or anything like that, but I thought he did an amazing job as Rhodey, and he was perfect. I wanted him. I was upset that he wasn't Rhodey in the next one. Not that Don Cheadle didn't do a good job with it. I just think Terrence Howard was better.
He brought a charisma to the role that, he was Rhodey. It was great casting. It's hard to replace a guy like that. And I think the chemistry, whether they liked each other or not, the chemistry was there with Downey Jr.
Then Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane. You just hate him, and that's what he's supposed to do. You're supposed to hate him, but like, to me, like, Jeff Bridges is Flynn from Tron. Like, that's my Jeff Bridges. And then to see him like with the shaved head Lex Luthor Ironmonger situation going on, I didn't like it. Didn't care for it, sir. But he nailed it. He did a great job of it.
I liked it. I mean, I bought into it, and I thought he did a great job. And I'm not saying somebody else might not have done better, but I thought he was great. I never questioned it, honestly.
Well, the scene where he finally openly betrays Tony and takes the arc reactor out, and that like the angle that Jon Favreau's got with the light on him and his eyes glowing, and
Yeah.
like you can see it, like it's tilted, like the camera's tilted here so that we're seeing like that this is, it's just an evil scene, and the eyes and the whole thing, and it's just at that point that I'm just like, he's like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I want to see somebody else do this, not Jeff Bridges, because again, that's Flynn. But what I don't understand about this scene, Dave, is how does he just happen to have a tool that just happens to fit the thing that Tony invented from scratch in his chest? And then how does it also just happen to plug right into the Ironmonger suit? Like, it's not a USB-C. Like, it's not.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was. Maybe it was USB-A actually, considering when it came out.
It's just weird. Like, as I'm watching
Yeah.
that, I'm like, he breaks open his case and he pulls out his little thing as if it was made for that, as if they were like, that's the key to this like lock, and he just twists it because he knows how to do that. He knows how to twist it and pull it out right over top of Tony's shirt. Apparently, it's built to do that, and it's just like, again, I know this is where our friend Patrick would get on me for getting too in the weeds about stuff like that. But the next thing
You're
that he
still
does,
observing because I never even picked up on that, to be honest with you.
the next thing that Obadiah does, though, which I think is pure evil, is he sits down next to a catatonic Tony, like he's frozen, and just kind of talks to him like, "Oh, this is going to be your legacy, man. Look at that's beautiful. Like that's next level evil. That's like next level."
Yeah.
And again, we don't need it to be a Jonathan Majors or a Thanos, or in everything. It doesn't have to be that over the top. This guy doesn't have any special powers or anything, but he's devious and he's sleazy and he is evil, and he's the perfect villain. This is what I talked about at the top of the show about this being very realistic, that this could all sort of happen. It feels like. Now, maybe this entrepreneur who doesn't really give a crap about the world other than his Playboy lifestyle, maybe he couldn't think of the strategies of how to build an iron suit and a small arc reactor and all of that stuff in. How long does that take? How long is that window that they're in the cave? Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it a month? Like, that's crazy.
I don't know. I always kind of like felt like this can't be any more than like a week or something like that, because it does show him like going to sleep and waking up a few times, or at least implies that days are passing, but you don't really know how many days are passing.
True. So again, when it opens up, let's go back to the movie itself and the timeline of it. When it opens up, oh, by the way, one more thing about casting that I had on my list to talk about was Peter Billingsley.
Oh yes.
So the little kid from A Christmas Story is friends with Jon Favreau, and therefore he's in all kinds of stuff. He was in Spider-Man: Homecoming. He was in not Homecoming, Far From Home. He was in Far From Home, and it's just like, it's funny to see Peter Billingsley in things to me, because I'm like, oh, and when I was watching this with my kids, because they were younger, 2008, my daughter was 4, and so when we're watching it, I'm watching it with my son, and I'm like, that's the kid from A Christmas Story, and he's like, nah, because he looks completely different. He's got the glasses, but he's like got like a bald head, and yeah. Anyway, that's the thing.
His head's shaved in the movie, right? I mean, am I wrong about that? He's not actually bald. He shaved the middle just to make it look like he was balding.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we see him in the Spider-Man movie, he's a different character, I think, maybe. No, he worked for Stark Industries. It's the same character, and then but he's got maybe he doesn't have all his hair. I don't remember.
I didn't
He's
realize
also,
that.
but
Okay.
he's also an elf. So he's also an elf. So here's what I was going to ask you though, Dave. Is getting back to the movie itself. There's a trope where they start the movie kind of not in the middle, but they start it kind of in the middle. They kind of started in the middle. When the movie opens up, they're driving the Humvees or the Funvee. They're driving it back away from the Jericho missile, and we don't know this yet, but the Jericho missile demonstration. And he's in the car, and they're having the conversation, and he's making fun of the driver and the kid who's next to him, and then the stuff blows up, and then we see him, the kind of the bag come off his head, and what looks like a kind of a kidnapping video that's being shot of him, and then we kind of move over into the scene at the award show. But so we started there. How do you feel about that when you start in the middle?
I don't love it, but I get why they do it. You like all big Hollywood movies now, they got to start with an explosion or some big scene or some set piece, or there has to be something that like super exciting at the very beginning. And all action movies have that now. And so they just did it for pacing, and it's not what I would do. It's not really, the story flows a little weird. I mean, I wouldn't want to read a book like that. Would feel like it would be confusing, but yeah, it's all right, I guess.
Well, so here's the thing is, a lot of times if I'm watching a movie while I'm working or doing something else, I'm watching it at home, I'm streaming it. Mm-hmm. I don't like to look at the screen the entire time, because sometimes I'm looking down at something else. Is that the right way to watch a movie? No, you should watch it without a secondary device in your hand. However, sometimes I do that. So sometimes when that'll happen, I'll miss the part where it'll go 36 hours earlier, like where they'll explain it. And I may say to somebody in the room, like, did they say that we've done a time shift here? Or did they say, like, let's just make it easy on me, make it easier on me. But in this particular case, I think it kind of works because they throw us into the action first, which may have been what you were kind of alluding to with about action movies being that way. They throw us into the action from the beginning, and then we're like, whoa, that was crazy. And then they're like, here's like a little bit of a flashback. And what I hate, and maybe you and I have talked about this before on these reviews, is exposition. I hate it on any Tim Allen special. I always pick on Tim Allen, but any Tim Allen pilot, when they're like, oh, hi, daughter, you're back from college where you've been, and I haven't seen you in 4 years since your mother left me because of blah, blah. And it's just like, this is not a conversation you would have. I love the use of the awards banquet to give us the background, to set the stage for who Tony Stark is, where he comes from, what's been going on. The one thing that bothered me here in the awards banquet is that this is Howard Stark number 3 for us. Because the Howard Stark that they show here is not the Howard Stark that we see in Captain America, is not the Howard Stark that we see when they go back in time with Civil War. Too many Howard Starks.
Agreed.
It's hard for me to care about poor Howard Stark passing when there's like 3 of them. So that was the one thing. But anyway, but I do love that they explain it that way. We learn that he was a smart kid. He was I forget what they say, like, but the prodigal son returned at age 21 and blah, blah, blah. And this whole, and it's like, they're explaining it to the audience because you would do this at an awards banquet. There's no other reason to have this awards banquet other than to explain to us, the audience, what's going on, because he doesn't show up for it, although that kind of also lends to us being, informed of who he is because he didn't show up and Rhodey had to be there for it. And so then we learn about his relationship with Rhodey and how close they are.
Yeah, I loved the way they used all the actual pictures of RDJ, and like I don't know how doctored they were, but like got him at all different ages. I mean, really like pictures all the way going back to him being a baby.
Yeah. And you know what? I pay attention to that too when I'm watching like Modern Family, and they have all the kids' pictures on the wall as they go up the stairs, and you see them, and I'm thinking, you probably took family photos from those actors and you put them there, or when they show pictures of a family together, and sometimes you can see that they doctored, somebody did some bad Photoshop to piece them together.
There might have been some bad Photoshop in this movie, actually, because some of them weren't great. I feel like I could have done it better on a couple of them, but weren't too bad.
The one that stands out to me the most is, and I'm going to find it for you here, is the Bill Gates one?
You're actually you're finding it. Look at that. Oh wow, yeah, that's got to be doctored It can't. 'Cause
Yeah,
like,
obviously.
why would he be like there around? I mean, obviously it's somewhat doctor, but it's probably just his face on someone else. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, now that's your new
Yeah.
task, is to go back and find the original. I love that about the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, and going back and watching the original episode of the Tower where he says, this is you may recognize as a map of the United States, but then it's like, this is you may recognize as a maintenance service elevator. It's neat to go back and see the origins of some of this stuff, and I'm sure there are people who are Uber fans who go back and do that stuff too. So yeah, so we're introduced to Tony. We then learn that he's kind of a playboy because he takes the reporter home, and then we learn that like Pepper is his cleanup crew, and she took the woman, which feels super awkward. Took the woman's clothes to get them dry cleaned, and basically helps her out, and then she's kind of like giving her back talk, and she says, "Well, I also take out the trash," and it's like it's a nice little catty moment there.
Boom.
But I don't know. Could we get away with like this, even though we're talking about how horrible a human being he was, sort of like how much of a playboy he was? Could we get away with the scene where there's a stripper pole in the air in the private jet? Could we get away with that in 2025? Like, even if we're talking about how bad he is, it still seems. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess there's probably worse things in movies nowadays. I guess it depends on the movie. In a Marvel movie, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of as I'm watching that part, I'm just like, that's interesting. That there's like a pole in in the airplane. I don't know.
Why was
it's
that
like
there? It seems like a safety hazard, right?
Feels like a safety hazard. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You're reading all the right signs. It's exactly why I was worried. I was worried about the fact that it was a safety hazard. There's
Those
nothing to
ladies
do with
aren't
anything
buckled
else.
in.
How dare they? There's another iconic scene though when he gets out to the desert to, and this is kind of like a Michael Scott moment. Work with me here. Michael Scott from The Office, always an idiot, blithering idiot, but every now and then, whether he's taking a client to Chili's or not, every now and then he comes across with this moment of clarity that you go, that's why he's the boss. Like every now and then, it's very, very rare with Michael Scott on The Office, but where you go, wow, okay, this is why he's the boss. He's the best salesman, because he knew to read this guy. He knew that this was what he needed. Same thing with this. It's like he's like a bumbling playboy, not bumbling, but he's like this playboy, doesn't care about this or that. And he does his presentation for the Jericho missile, and it's brilliant. Like his presentation is amazing. And then you're like, okay, I get, like, okay, that's why you're the face of this company. But I love that speech that he makes where, Dad says that I say it's the one that you only have to fire once. But this moment where he kind of raises his arms again, that's that sort of a very iconic scene from this. And again, props to
I love that it just
our boy.
wasn't just like him, like not being really affected by it, but he's actually blown forward a little bit, you notice, and he's like, it really affects everybody, including him, even though he was ready for it. So I like those little things where it was kind of the Hollywood, cliche, but at the same time, it wasn't quite the same,
The walking away from the fire or explosion sort of a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Then after we see this amazing performance or whatever, we immediately get back into what makes Tony Tony when like he opens up this like bar, this portable bar, right there on the scene and gets at it. So.
And you get one for like a what is it, like a $10 million order? I can't remember the number he gives, but yeah.
By the way, Jay Ware is in chat and says Rob acts like he's never been in a private jet with a stripper pole.
I just saw that.
You don't know what I do, Jay Ware. You have no idea. You have no idea. Yeah. Anyway. So here's a weird thing. There's you were talking about like I noticed weird things, right? There's a weird thing that I noticed, and it bothered me so much that I kind of stopped and looked into it.
Okay, here we go.
This LG phone that he's got.
Oh.
Are you familiar? Like you saw this
I,
phone?
I
Like
think
it
I feel like I remember that phone though.
yeah, it's like a flip phone, but it flips up and the screen turns sideways for no particular reason.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes to make this call up, it flips open and yeah. And so I was like, what
Is
is
it a
that
real phone?
phone? It is a real phone. Dave, thanks for asking. I have the spec sheet on it right here. Honestly, it is the LG VX9400. Here's the quick start guide for it. So yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it was a real phone. This is how deep I dove into this conversation for our look on the plus side. Watching mobile TV, playing music, Bluetooth pairing. Man, it does it all. But again,
Wow.
just kind of like there's no reason that it does this. Like that screen, you're not getting a better situation when that screen turns. And maybe it's just so that you could see the different keys. I don't know. But, I'm sure it was a product placement. I'm sure LG paid to have this in Tony Stark's hands. He is a tech entrepreneur god, and he's going to be carrying your phone. Like this is the one you want. I was just, again, I got way.
It just looks cool though. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's a pretty stupid feature, but it looks cool.
I got right. It is a pretty stupid, but it flips. Like it flips.
Yeah.
Kind of like the new Samsungs that fold. It's like my money don't jiggle, it folds, and my phone does too. If that didn't have the seam in the middle, I would have one. I love the fact that it opens up into a larger screen. So like
we were
that,
buying
I
a
get.
phone this past weekend, and I was playing why? I just don't. I don't need like a thicker thing that's folded in half in my pocket any more than I need a long skinny thing. I don't.
Well, we can talk about that another time, but I just needed everyone to know that I knew that Tony Stark was using the VX9400 from LG. LG, life's good. LG is not a sponsor of this show, although I wish they were.
Maybe they will be now.
Yeah, right. I just saw that and it should have just disturbed me of Jeff Bridges like half naked in bed, like but no, it was the phone that was driving me nuts. So anyway, maybe the Pixel Fold won't have the seam. Yes, let's get to the bottom of that right now, Jay. Where I appreciate you. All right, so let me pause here and say thank you guys to everyone who's been here. Dawn, thanks for joining us. Jay Ware, Fire Chief. I saw Ronald. I see somebody else here. M Kurt 9. But again, everybody who's in the chat here with us, Rob Bazemore dropped by. Hey, Rob Bazemore. Thank you guys for being here with us live on the Look on the Plus side. And if you haven't already, please give us a like and also subscribe if you haven't. We have a lot of content. We'll tell you about it at the end here. But this is the time when I like to stop down and attack. Offer our guest some trivia questions that I have noticed in these movies, and then see if you notice. And luckily, it's not about the LG phone, so that's off the table. I already talked about that. It's not about Peter Billingsley. I took that off the table too. So you're like, so then what?
That one actually.
So it's like, what could these questions be? Well,
right.
Should be pretty easy. Let me start with an easy one.
Okay.
What is Rhodey's name and title?
Oh, man. Name and title.
Like his military... No?
Is he like a major? I don't know. I don't know.
Colonel James Rhodes.
Colonel... man, see, now that you say it, I'm like, okay, I've heard that a zillion times. But I should know that. That is an easy one.
I thought
it... I'm just not good at this.
I thought it might have been easy. I don't know.
It's probably easier for probably everybody in chat knew.
Well, actually, Ronald and Jay Ware rattled it off. I'm going to assume before the delay hit them. So we'll give it that. You're a car guy, right?
I am a car guy.
Okay, you're a car guy. In this one, Tony drives a silver Audi R8.
Yes.
He races Happy to the airport in it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the license plate on that car?
Oh, I saw that and I started to write it down. I don't think I actually did. It was Stark 4.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah,
right.
You nailed it, buddy. That is correct. And what was weird is sometimes I felt like there were two of them, like that Pepper was driving one once, and then but also sometimes it looked like the license plate was on the front, and sometimes it wasn't. But man, you nailed that one. Yeah, Stark 4. I think each of his cars was numbered for like how many he had, maybe. But yeah,
they had weren't there like 4 in his workshop?
Yeah.
And the Audi was one of them.
Yeah. So here's the next one. So in that award ceremony we were talking about at the beginning, they do that montage, and they use 6 real magazine names, real magazine covers, 6 of them. Can you name 2 of those 6 magazines that were used in that montage? Just 2 of those 6 magazines.
Time was one of them, right? No, Time was not one of them. Okay.
That's one where you're like, it's got to be Time.
We're in deep trouble here.
I'm going to go ahead and take Life off the table too, because that's usually the one they usually do too. They usually do Time and Life, but no, neither of those.
I'm going to go Newsweek.
That is one, correct.
Okay.
Obadiah was on the cover of Newsweek.
People.
No.
Dang it. How many guesses?
I'll give you one more guess. Think 2008. Rolling Stone is correct. Rolling Stone is correct.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and count you on that one. I'm looking at this. Ronald guessed Time as well. Fire Chief said Newsweek, People, Newsweek, Popular Mechanics, MIT Technology. Popular Mechanics and MIT. All 3 of those are correct, by the way. Rolling Stone, I think, said J-Ware. Dawn said Forbes. That was also correct. Wired was the one I was fishing for just now to see if you knew, because they actually, I think, used that one in the 2005 Fantastic Four when they were talking about Reed's failures. And I was like, that's such a time capsule of that era, is Wired magazine. So it was Wired, Popular Mechanics, Newsweek, Forbes, MIT Technology Review, and Rolling Stone. And there was a newspaper that was the Washington Times.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten 3 of them. I'll just say that.
No, you did it. You did it. So that award ceremony was held in Vegas at what Vegas casino?
The Bellagio? No. Okay.
You want to guess one more?
I don't know if I have a second guess. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of a name. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank on Vegas names. Come on, guys, give me a break. They're crucifying me in chat. Oh, Caesars.
Yes, that is correct. Because you read it, right? Yes.
Yeah.
When they do the awards ceremony, it says Caesar's Palace on the podium the entire time, and then he is in Caesar's gambling. So yeah.
Thank you, Fire Chief and J-Ware.
There you go. All right, so you got the magazines, the awards banquet, the car, Colonel James Road. So the 5th one is easy. You're gonna nail this one. I can almost guarantee you a win on this one.
All right.
Tony was watching TV and he heard about the 3rd Firefighters Family Fund Ball. Where was that ball being held?
Oh, come on, man. You didn't actually think I would know the answer to that. What?
I thought for sure you would.
I got no idea. I'm giving up on this one. I have no clue.
Oh man, I thought you would know that one. I'm going to give the chat a second to figure that one out and see if they know it. Fire Chief's always keeping track.
I feel like thanks, Fire Chief.
Dave, 3 for 4 with our help.
Hey, look, in fairness, I would have gotten 2 of 4. So
yeah. Well, I was going to ask you what SHIELD stood for, but yeah, we're not.
Oh,
so
man,
no one has a clue.
The movie,
it's the Disney Concert Hall. I thought for sure everybody was going to know that one because it was Disney. Yeah.
Oh, I did Disney not pick up on that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was before Disney owned this brand, this property. And so that's what I thought was so interesting about it, is that they say that it's at the Disney Concert Hall.
Do we have time for me to do a trivia question for you?
Lay it on me, buddy. I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it.
Let me see. Let me see if I've got one. Okay, here we go. What is?
I really thought all our Disney fans were gonna know that one. Sorry, go ahead.
I think everybody in chat's gonna know this one at least. What's the name of the organization that captures Tony in the film?
Oh, the Ten Rings.
Okay, good, good. Okay, one more then, since you got that so fast. And this will be an easy one for you too. What's the first thing Tony wants when he gets back to the United States?
An American hamburger, and he gets it from Burger King.
There you go. Did they actually say it was from Burger King?
Happy
'Cause
has
I was
the
looking
bag.
for that. Okay.
Yeah,
Didn't
and
notice
they're wrapped. The one thing that bothered
Virginia.
me about
Jay Ware says, "What's Pepper Potts' first name?" It's Virginia.
the one thing that bothered me about about that scene is that Obadiah meets him at the car, and he's like, "Oh, you stop for a burger?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Got one for me?" And he said, "No." He's like, "This is the last one, and I need it." And then he eats it, and then during his little speech, he pulls another one out of his pocket. So
man.
I was like, "Wait a minute, was he like? Is that are we supposed to? Was that a gaffe, or were we supposed to know that?" The thing about the Ten Rings is, and thank you all for playing along for trivia. I feel like it's an integral part of what we do is to have that little moment. A week from Friday, my son will be back doing his trivia show, Hakuna Matrivia. So if you love trivia, you can tune in 8:30 on Friday the 22nd, and he will be doing a live trivia, whole trivia game with people. So if you love trivia, come back for that. But the Ten Rings thing, first of all, which when you mentioned that, the Ten Rings is connected to the Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a fake Mandarin in Iron Man 3, but then the real Mandarin shows up in Shang-Chi, and the Ten Rings is then like physical, like a thing, the Ten Rings. At that point, those are the things that he uses for his power. So,
in an early script, that was going to be the villain in the original Iron Man was the Mandarin, but they just couldn't. Like it was just they couldn't have figured out a way to make it not boring.
Well, you know what? It's not
going by the comic books.
It's not just not boring. I think it's also got to be like we talked about at the beginning, very like real world, realistic. And I think the fact that the the one that they had, the fake one that they use, the fact that he is so over the top is great when you meet the real one and go, okay, that's really what he should be, is just a guy, but he's a guy with some, supernatural abilities because of these rings. Speaking of organizations, the other thing that bothers me on this is S.H.I.E.L.D. because they joke because he keeps introducing it as the strategic homeland, and he goes, we're working on it. And then at the very end, he's like, just call us S.H.I.E.L.D. But when Howard Stark worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the day, wouldn't Tony have known that at some point? And also they used to refer to it as S.H.I.E.L.D. when you go back to the Agent Carter series and you go back to some of the throwback stuff. They called it S.H.I.E.L.D. They did.
Point.
So this feels, maybe it's just because this was the first movie and they didn't know how deep in the lore they were going to go, but that bothers me.
Yeah. Didn't think about that, but you're right.
Because when in Black Widow takes place originally before the events of Iron Man, because it's her Nat as a kid, and in that one, S.H.I.E.L.D. is chasing after the family, and it says S.H.I.E.L.D. on the car. So I'm like, you knew that was a thing a while back. So I don't know. It just seems a little bit.
Can I lay one more? I think I can stump you on one more trivia question.
Bring it.
I got one. You're not gonna know what this is.
That's fine.
There's a point where Tony's in his workshop and he's listening to a song near the beginning of the movie. What song is he listening to in his workshop? It's the only time in the movie where he's just sitting there listening to music. What song?
Yeah,
is he listening to?
I know the scene you're talking about, and because Pepper comes down, turns off his music, and he says, "Don't turn off my music while I'm working." Yep. But I almost looked up what song it was, and I didn't. So I don't know. It was a rock song, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a song by Suicidal Tendencies from their very first album, and it was a song called Institutionalized. I had that album.
Nice.
That was a great album.
Nice.
About what you would expect from Suicidal Tendencies.
No, but honestly, it tipped my ear enough that I went, I might look that up, and then I didn't, because I thought to me the music comes back to Iron Man, like the Black Sabbath song,
and Back in Black, because Back in Black
that is true. That is very true. Back in Black is also a big deal from this one. So the Iron Man soundtrack is it's Hans Zimmer, the score, and in Institutionalized Suicidal Tendencies, I'm looking at it now. There's a song "Damn Kid" by DJ Borobo. Yeah. Anyway, so Hans Zimmer does the score for this one. And the music's perfect. I mean, we were going to talk about the music anyway, but the Black Sabbath song being included in it, I think, is amazing. And then, of course, Back in Black, like you talked about, it just gives it that edge. And I mean, maybe is that Tony Stark? Is that what it is, or is it like, what do you think that is guiding that kind of music in this?
It's metal. It's Iron Man. I think the connection's loose, but I think that's what it was intended to. I mean, you couldn't have Beyonce playing when Tony comes out.
Yes, true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I like the music, but like I said, when it comes to the music, like I think about the Fantastic Four that just came out. I don't know. Did you see that in the theater, Fantastic Four?
I have not seen it yet. No.
The music for that, I think, is pretty infectious because I think you walk out of there going, Fantastic Four. Jay Ware, $1 for every year that RDJ played Tony Stark. Super chat from Jay Ware, $11.
Nice.
Thank you
Love
so
that.
much, Jay Ware, for doing that. Yeah. And also, I think next time, just $1 for every movie in the MCU. No, I'm just kidding. 34, I think, is what we're up to now. It's ridiculously high. Let's talk a little bit about the Ironmonger, because again, you were talking about the fact that they didn't do the Mandarin. They did have the 12 rings in there. They didn't do there's a part in there where Obadiah, I always want to call him Jebediah, but Obadiah refers to, he says, we're ironmongers, Tony, and it's just like, oh, okay, we're going to be on the nose about this. All right, because that's the character that he plays in this. And yeah, I mean,
there was a lot of good Easter eggs in the movie. I mean, we didn't get into any of that, but there's a bunch of, there's that point where there's Captain America's shield under construction in his workshop, which why would that be in his workshop?
Well, I mean, there's the 10 rings that we talked about.
I had a few others written down. Let's see, like there was there was some stuff. There was a War Machine blueprint that was on a wall towards the end.
So here's the other part about that. War Machine is that there's that scene where Tony, Rhodey comes to save Tony, but he's already kind of like saved himself. And then once he does, he gets in the suit and he watches him fly away. And then he turns around, he sees that suit behind him, and he goes, "Next time, baby." And I'm thinking, no, Terrence, there won't be no next time for you. Sorry. But I do think that's kind of a neat moment for people who are comic book nerds like myself, who go, wait a minute, I know that like Rhodey becomes the War Machine, and so that's cool that that he has that moment in there where he's gonna suit up and he's like, nah, next time. Because again, you don't want to have like a million suits flying around like you did in Iron Man 3, right? So there was all that. So anyway, the other thing about this is there everything that they do along the way peppers. I don't mean pepper pots, but peppers in the resolution, which we don't know at the time that we're seeing a lead up to the resolution. So in other words, when he takes that arc reactor out and says to Pepper, throw this away, and then she decides to do something cute with it and frame it into this box, then that's the thing that saves his life. We don't know that that's going to be the thing, but he remembers that it's down there, and he goes and he gets it. And it's like, yes, Tony, of course, that's how you're going to save yourself. Go down and find that thing. Or, the Leslie Bibb character is going to be the one to come back and tell him about the village that, and because she comes back and he's not taking her seriously, but then so they connect these things so well. And I feel like it's so well written that I'm pleasantly surprised when they connect. I'm not anticipating them to connect. When I watch something like, my wife's watching Law and Order or something, it's like, okay, I know that's the guy who did it because he's the guy I recognize from 8 other shows who's doing a guest spot on here. Like it's like I'm trying to figure those things out. And this one, I think that they laid the groundwork so well, and they put it in plain sight, but it didn't dumb it down for the audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a really good point.
So he has the big the first act of it. I feel like is we're introduced to him. He does his presentations. We learn who he is. He's a warmonger. That's where he's making his money, just like his dad did. Then he gets attacked, and then he's asked to build this weapon, and then he realizes that his weapons are being used against him and his people and other people, and he feels bad about it, and then he escapes. That's really kind of all Act 1. And then when he turns the corner and he's doing his own thing, and he's trying to figure out how to make this suit and refine it, which is beautiful to watch. And if you stop and think about how much of this 2-hour movie is him in like trial and error mode, learning how to build this thing, and it's brilliant. Again, it's very real world. You wouldn't just put an armor suit on and fly it. He's got to figure out all of the little details of things and tinker back and forth, and the repulsors, and okay, I need something to brace myself, and then now I've learned that those things can be used as weapons. And then by the end, he's got to throw a little fire, like, what is it, flame red, fire engine red? What does he say?
He says
hot rod red.
Hot rod red, that's right, because he looks over at his car and says hot rod red.
Yeah. So all of those things that kind of lead us to what is the final product, that's kind of Act 2. And then in Act 3 is when we kind of learn, that's really when we learn that Obadiah is in cahoots with the 12 rings. He turns on them, and he becomes our big baddie for the last third of the movie, where he actually ends up taking Tony's arc reactor, using it to power his suit, and he just doesn't care at that point, like what he breaks, who he hurts, who he kills. During that scene, by the way, I was really mad at the mom who is driving the car as Tony is trying to save her life, and instead of trying to be understanding of that, she freaks out and drives over him.
See, that's the scene that wouldn't happen today. Is they would never show like a hysterical woman not being able to handle the pressure. It's going to be some guy freaking out or something like that nowadays, I think.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, just my opinion.
No, that's fine. Yeah, and
thanks.
Yeah, I'm not leaving you out there to dry or anything. I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
Point. Yes, great.
Yes, you're right. We need to be very careful about the things we do and say, and the things I still think that the stripper pole in the plane's a little more problematic, but we'll go with your thing too. So they're having this big fight, but again, Obadiah is the owner basically of this company. I mean, he has positioned himself to make Tony look like an idiot, to be the power behind this thing, and he's just in the streets blowing stuff up. Like, does he think there won't be any repercussions? Like, is he just mad at this point? Like his need to be in the suit and to power the thing and to move forward in this. And I don't know, I feel like he's just become unhinged, and we didn't see enough of what drove him to be unhinged. Does that make sense? Yeah,
no, that's a good point. I mean, Pepper even says, like, you know, he's gone crazy, and so like well, you don't ever like see why he's crazy. Like, what does he get out of it? It's not like really, it seems like his motivation early on is the money, right? And there's no way, to your point, that he's going to still get the money after what he's done. He's not going to be able to go out and like kill a bunch of people and then go like, I'm still the leader of the company. It doesn't usually work like that.
True. Yeah. That was my point on that one, is that I feel like he's just not thinking straight, and we weren't really, I feel like we jumped there very quickly, but again, it's a 2-hour and 6-minute movie. It's fine. So then, when it's all said and done, we have that wrap up at the end where Coulson's there and he's like, "We're just call a shield," and there's going to be this press conference and he gives Tony these cards and says, "Look, we're going to say it was your bodyguard. We've gone out of our way to get alibis for you to show that you are not Iron Man and to keep your secret identity." And he gets up there, and is it his vanity that makes him finally say, "I am Iron Man"? Because that moment is awesome, by the way, when that happens. But is that what makes that happen? Is his vanity just to be like, "Hey, people need to know that I'm the cool guy behind this thing," or is it that he's sick of the lies?
That's a good question. I always took it as being vanity, but maybe it was just that he has turned over a new leaf and he needs to be more honest with. I mean, it does seem a little like a selfish thing to say on some level,
Yeah.
like the not really having consideration for the people that are close to him, and so like it was. I mean, I'm sure this was an improvised line from RDJ.
Yeah. The truth is, I am Iron Man. It's a great way to end this movie, but also I love that Rhodey leans over and goes, "Stick to the cards." But I love that they end this way, but it also kind of relates back to the comic books. The Civil War comic book storyline, not the movie, but the comic book storyline was that Tony Stark was open about he was Iron Man. He didn't have a secret identity. And so the Civil War was between those who had secret identities and those who didn't, as opposed to people who wanted to sign the Sokovia Accords and people who didn't. Like, that got real political in there, but when it goes back to the comic books, he was like, you have people like Spider-Man who he protects his himself as Peter Parker because he wants to make sure that May and all of his friends and Mary, MJ and all those are safe. Tony is very open about the fact that he's Iron Man, so that to me is something that Tony Stark would have done, comic book version or RDJ.
And maybe it's arrogance too, just thinking that he can protect everybody.
I feel like that's what they kind of lean back towards, is that it's an arrogance. Now, the final thing about this is that they wrap it up with something that's called a post-credit scene, Dave. I don't know if you've ever heard of those or not. We've obviously seen them. The kids are talking about it. We've obviously seen them in movies before this one. It was I'm going to use the word trope again that was used a lot. Ferris Bueller, for one, where he comes out and says, "What are you still doing here?" But this, and a lot of cases anymore, I feel like they put them in and they don't make sense or they never come back to them.
Yeah.
And so in this one, this is the one that becomes the MCU, basically, is that Tony comes back in, and this is the very end. There's not a mid-credit in this one. It's the very end. He comes back into his house, and somehow Nick Fury has penetrated his way in there, and he kind of recants the term he recounts the term "I am Iron Man," like, well done, like, you don't know what you've done, what you've started, and let me tell you about the Avengers Initiative. Fade to black. Okay, all right, now we got something going on here, and we didn't know what. And then the Hulk movie comes out, and they bring RDJ in at the very end to talk to Ross, and he's like, let me talk to you about this thing. And then, now we're off to the races and it becomes something huge. But it's the one that started it all. I mean, this is the one that started everything. And when I look back in at like how this movie affected everything else, and I think about, well, like I said about RDJ, I feel like he redefined what Tony Stark was in the comics, in the cartoons, that he took Tony to another level. We knew he was a businessman, playboy. He was sort of a Bruce Wayne type of a thing, but in this one, he's just it's more RDJ's take on it that came up. And then I always talk about where these things showed up in the theme parks. Avengers Campus. Have you been yet? I forget.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, when you enter the land and you hear the music, it's amazing. But the whole thing is themed as if it was the Stark Industries, like, auto shop or like auto place that was turned into this Avengers Campus. And so, there's a parking space for Peggy Carter and all kinds of other little Easter eggs all through the land. But it kind of makes this the umbrella for all things, in the same way the Skywalker family is all about the Star Wars movies. This is, Stark is all through time, whether it be in the early days of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America and all that, or, Tony, or even Ironheart still carries over some of this, the Tony legacy a little bit there. So it's really neat to see that. And then they did a thing called the Iron Man Experience at Disneyland at the Heroes HQ. It was at the top of what is now sort of Star Wars launch bay. And it was this whole thing where you could see all the different suits, which was kind of cool to see. Anything else that you can think of that you've seen that I may have missed there?
Not that I can think of, no.
Okay. All right. So anything we didn't talk on before we do final thoughts?
Now I need a glass of water, but
all right.
I mean, I just thought,
well,
oh man. Sorry,
get yourself a glass of water, and we'll recount here in a second. So thank you guys for watching tonight. We appreciate you. Patreon.com/Go Pack if you want to be part of our community. We love our pack. Thank you guys who are members of the Park Adventurers Club. Special shout out to our Zebra Mezzanine and our Treasure Room supporters. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for being part of the pack. And again, shout out to Jungle Cruiser, Rosita, William, Monica, Michael, Jay Ware, Alicia, Rob B, Vince, Jordan, Sienna, Bucky, and Egg663. Thank you guys so much for being members, for hanging out with us all the time. We appreciate it. And if you haven't already seen it, last night I did a live stream about Disneyland and a kind of a review of the 70th anniversary. I had gone out there a couple weeks ago for the 70th and kind of just walked through on that video all of the entertainment offerings, the merchandise that I had picked up. The activations that were happening there. It kind of showed off my big my key that I got while I was there. So check that out on this channel. That's parkadventuresclub.com. Also, we did a park show on Sunday night. Myself and Rob Bazemore, we talked about the value of the annual pass and is it worth it. So if you haven't checked that out already, you can check that out. And then this Friday night, I'll be dropping a friend of the show who is a financial analyst is going to talk with me about Disney and that Q3 call that they had last week, and kind of break down some of the stuff about Hulu and Disney Plus getting together, the NFL agreement that they did, and a look at the parks. And I think if you have any interest in the financial part of what Disney's up to, we would love to have you guys watch that one on Friday night. It drops at 8:30 p.m. This Friday. And then Sunday night, we'll be back for another Park Adventurers Club. So, all that said, hopefully you got your drink of water, buddy. Here it is.
I did.
Here it is.
Thank
We
you.
talked about everything, top to bottom, Iron Man. This is the one that started it all. The question that I have for you is the question we have all the time. So now is the time, and now is the best time. If someone asked you, Dave, you're amazing, I need to know, Iron Man, would you recommend this movie?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I probably said it at the top and probably gave it away too early, but yes, is really a classic movie. It really is the thing that kicked off the MCU, and I think every bit of it holds up. I think it's witty and it's fun, and there's great action, and it's great storytelling, and great characters, and it's a movie that you can watch over and over again. And I really enjoyed watching it. I didn't just do it for the show. It was a movie that I've enjoyed from beginning to end every time I've watched it. And there aren't a lot of movies I can say that about. I mean, obviously some of the Star Wars movies and a few of the other Marvel movies, but there's not a lot that falls into that category for me. Usually I'm a one watch kind of guy. So there's not, maybe a few Disney movies, of course, too, but not much outside of that.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I would say that I would also recommend it. I feel like Iron Man is the glue that holds together the MCU. It's going to be interesting to see RDJ come back and be Doctor Doom. We had a little bit of a tease of it. I don't think that that's any secret from the Fantastic Four movie, but I honestly think that this movie was a great movie when I saw it back in 2008. I was excited about it. I love superhero movies. But going back and rewatching it, like you said, Dave, I feel like it's a must watch. And even if you are not going to watch the rest of the MCU, I think that this is a much must watch. Now, you do have to forgive the lady driver who freaks out, and also the pole in the stripper pole in the private jet. But other than that, I think it holds up. It's a solid movie. Funny thing is, today, John Goodman, I think it was today, got his star on Hollywood Boulevard, and Jeff Bridges showed up and pulled out the dude sweater and kind of played the dude for John Goodman,
Nice.
to kind of welcome him for being on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But I did think that was kind of funny. But he always sort of plays himself. But in this one, I think he went out of his way to play evil. RDJ reinvented who Tony Stark is, and I think top to bottom, it was a great movie. I'm glad you suggested we come back to this one. And you're going to come back and talk about Bambi with us in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I'm stoked.
That's going to be
about that.
That's going to be a weird transition.
From Iron Man. I wanted to see how far off I could get from Iron Man for my next one.
Yep. Next, and after that, we're gonna do a season of NCIS, and it's gonna be great. No, we're not
Nice.
gonna do that. Again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight and on your Wednesday night. We always appreciate it. And come back for more. We'll see you again next Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for another look on the plus side. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.